Next, we would like to introduce Mr. Eric Harris, who went from working at a potato chip factory and being a UPS driver to playing in the NFL for the San Francisco 49ers. From the trials and tribulations of a single-parent home, being one of 6 children, not being recruited out of high school, and even tearing his ACL, to making his way through the Canadian League and today having a successful NFL career. Let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Eric Harris.
Woo! Thank you. Appreciate it, brother. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's been a long time coming.
Mic's on? Mic's on? Okay. Well, I caught a little bit of the last speaker, very motivating, but after looking at him, you guys are like, this is not an NFL guy up here right now. Yeah. I wouldn't have believed it either. But so that song that I just played is probably a little different than the other introductions that you guys probably heard, a little more hype music and stuff like that. But for me, I mean, we all go through things, right? And you just gotta think, when's the last time you sat in silence or sat and gave yourself self-love? For me, it's important to do that, and I do it a lot of times when I'm driving. And for some reason, music just sounds better in the car. I play the same song, as soon as I get home, I'm like, it's not hitting the same. It's just not. But some of the lyrics, it's been a long time coming. I almost gave up. I spent a long time running. I almost lost hope. But glimpses of the future kept the fire burning deep inside. Your words of affirmation let me know that I was right on time. I just had to surrender my dreams for yours. I just had to surrender my will for yours. And so many times in life, for me in my journey, you know, I always have a vision, I always had a goal, and I wanted to look a certain way, and I'm like, it's not happening for me. Why is it not happening for me? And I get super frustrated. So I'll give you a little bit of my journey. I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. Grew up down there. My mother, single mother, 6 kids. Grew up down there, and it was rough down there. My mom, on the weekends, she would go down to Baltimore, inner Baltimore, and she would drop me off at my grandmother's house. My mom would go down there, and she would strip for money. She would pick us up after her work, her night shift. She would bring us back home. The next day, she would do the same thing. Meanwhile, my grandmother, on the other hand, she would ask us to go to, she had a friend in a assisted living home, and she would always ask, hey, when we go over there, see Mr. Bob, you know, just ask him for a couple of dollars or whatever. So, you know, we had to work it up, and hey, before we leave, do you think you give us some $5 or whatever it may have been? As soon as we left, she would take it, buy cigarettes with it. I remember she sold one of my bikes. I was super sad. I'm like, Mom, I'm not going back over there. She sold my bike. She's mean. But that was a life. That was a cycle that we're in. I started football in 3rd grade, but I was in that cycle every weekend. Until my mom, she got her second DUI, and I have family that live up in Pennsylvania, and they're super religious. A lot of people think they're Amish, actually. So we would go up there on the holidays before we moved up to PA. We would go up there holidays. I would get on the farm. I wear my suspenders. I try to jump on the cows and stuff like that. Didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was a city boy for real. Yeah, she got her second DUI, and she said life had to change for us. So football in 3rd grade, 4th grade, in the middle of 4th grade, I had to tell all my teammates that I was moving away. Heartbreaking, had to sit in front of them, kind of like I'm doing right now, and just say, hey, this is going to be my last game. I'm moving to Pennsylvania. Devastated as a kid. So we moved up to PA, not knowing in the long run that was the best decision my mom has ever made for my family. So anyways, we move up to PA. I sit out of football in 5th grade because we're trying to figure out life. We stay in a motel for 2 weeks, move in my grandfather for a little while, and then we had to get government assistance, Section 8. So in order to get that, we had to go stay in a shelter for 2 weeks. So I spent my first Christmas in PA in a shelter. It was terrible, but it was also great at the same time. I look back at that moment and that time in life, especially seeing what my kids get for Christmas these days, and I'm just grateful for that moment. We move out of the shelter, get bumped up the list, get our first little townhouse in PA. After that, we get another townhouse. I played football in 6th grade, so I made a lot of great friends. So I'm going through high school, whatever. I'm starting to get pretty good at football, playing other sports. I played basketball, really played football while playing basketball. I just guarded the best defender. Couldn't dribble with my left hand, still can't dribble with my left hand. I made the B team. It was a joke because I was like the most athletic, but I was on the B team for basketball and all this stuff. So, but things started changing. I started getting recruited more and more and more, and school started getting less and less and less important to me. I thought just with football, I could do anything. I could go anywhere I wanted. Never turned in my homework assignments. Kind of let my GPA slip. Didn't take the SATs very seriously. But at the same time, again, my mom's a single parent, so I'm making sure my little brothers are getting on the bus. And my senior year, I was late like 40 times my senior year. And people kind of knew what was going on back home. So they kind of worked with me or whatever, but like, hey, we have to give you detention because these are protocols, whatever. So I would go to detention, do my homework. So coming around, it's time to sign my letter of intent. And I didn't get that day. I didn't get that opportunity because I messed it up. So usually when I talk to kids in high schools and stuff like that, I always, really emphasize the importance of school and education and where it could take you. For me, it took me D2. I had a lot of D1 offers. I would go to a lot of prospect camps. There would be Ivy League schools there, and they'd be like, hey, we really like you. I'm like, oh gosh. What's your GPA? What's your SAT score? And like, we're not gonna talk about that. Appreciate it, nice meeting you. Not coming to your school. But no, seriously, didn't do well in school until I met my wife in psychology class. I met her because I got in trouble. I was sitting in the back right side of the class. She sat in the front left because she was an honor student. So my teacher moved me behind her, and she has ADD, so the day she didn't take her medicine, I was a distraction to her. She would turn around, she would talk to me. Or whatever. Teacher would yell at me. Never yelled at her or whatever. So, but yeah, she was a distraction, man. To this day, she's been my rock through my whole journey, and I'm gonna continue with that. But she's the real MVP in our family. I always say, like, when I have interviews and stuff, like, wives in the NFL are like the linemen. You don't hear anything about the offensive linemen. No big contract about the offensive linemen, defensive linemen. They don't really get any love. But the wives, they're the glue to our whole family. They sacrifice so much. And a lot of times, honestly, because of my journey, I've never been that guy. With football people, right now I'm on a 1-year deal, so people think, oh, you sign a 1-year deal, you're good for a year. It doesn't work that way. 90 guys show up, 53 guys get a job. So just because I signed a contract doesn't mean I get paid what I get paid. And I remember when I signed my first, let me just go back. Let me finish my college story. So I get to college. So I get to college. I play 4 years. I'm at a D2 school. I play 4 years. They always brought in D1 transfers. So I was never the guy at college. I was always a good player, but never the guy. My coach always, you gotta go look at so-and-so, JUCO #1 player of the country, look at so-and-so. Kind of got overlooked a lot. And then we had my pro day, and I remember my coach coming up to me and telling me that, hey, like, you were the MVP of today. I had a really good pro day, had really good numbers. But I didn't get any phone calls after that. I talked to some scouts. I was there. I had my CDs. It's different for kids these days. They go on the website. You type in a little link. You share with everybody on their cell phone. You get to watch their highlights right away. I was back making CDs, GPA, 40 time, my vertical time. So I was just passing out CDs. I felt like, the guy in the parking lots. CDs, DVDs, so passing those out. Yeah, right? So passing out everything. I didn't get any looks, so, I had to do something. So I went back home to my hometown, and I worked at Utz Potato Chips, if you guys have ever, Utz, whatever people pronounce it as. So that was kind of like the summer job. I was a corn mixer in there. Worst job in the plant. I worked with my guy, Pablo. And every half an hour, we had to take 10, 50-pound bags and put the corn flour into the dry hopper, send it through the water, mix it up, put it down through the little mixer where the fryer is below, where you're yelling at you to push harder, they're banging on the thing, push harder, it's 110 degrees in there. I'm sweating everywhere. I'm like, this is disgusting. Where's health? food and health, safety. So I had that job, and it was super humbling, super humbling. I went through college and still didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I had that job, back to college, and I made Dean's List for the first time because I said, I'm not going back to that factory, and that's not what I'm doing for 15 years like my mom did. So I went back to school to finish up my degree. Well, in that process, my distraction, my wife, we find out we're having twins, winter break. Yeah, that's what I said. We found out we're having twins. So she comes to visit me. We have a good visit or whatever. She goes back home. Her mom calls me and she's like, hey, I think you should come home this weekend. You should come, Teresa's having a hard time. I'm like, having a hard time? I just saw her. What do you mean? So I'll see if I can get off work, whatever. Call Teresa. What is your mom talking about? Like, I just saw you. And she's all quiet, and I was like, oh yeah, you're pregnant, aren't you? Still silent. So I'm like, it's okay. We'll do it the right way. We've been together since high school. We'll get married. We'll do all these things. I'll provide. That was my biggest fear as a father, as a male, was not being able to provide for my family because I didn't have that in my dad. So I'm scared shitless, but I'm trying to be brave for her, right? So I'm giving her a rundown of what we're going to do, and she's quiet, and I said, well, what's wrong? She said, they see 2, possibly 3. I hung up on her right away and called my mama crying. Oh man, she still talks about it this day. She's like, Mom, I'm gonna be a single parent. I'm like, no, you're not. So I called my mom, she talks me off the ledge and, get back and call her back and like, hey, like let's get together. I'll come home this weekend. So, so I'm working at UPS. So I had to go back to school to finish up my degree. So that winter break, I'm working at UPS. The CFL, they go around the United States and they have like these tryouts where you can pay $80, $100, whatever the fee is for that tryout. So I remember talking to one of their scouts and like, hey, we really want you to come to this tryout, drive up to Buffalo, New York. It's like 5-hour drive from Cal, PA. We want to see you. We like what we see on paper. We like your highlights and all that stuff on film, but we want to see you in person. It's been a year. We want to see what you look like. So I drive up to Buffalo, New York. I pay $80 for the tryout. It was on a Saturday. They called me Monday. Hey, it's Sean Burke from the Hamilton Tiger Cats. We want to offer you a 3-year deal. Make sure you look over the numbers, make sure everything looks good. I was like, yes, sir, I got you. I didn't talk to anybody. I went down to the library, printed out that contract, signed it, and gave it back to him. Probably should have talked to my wife, but I didn't. So I went and put my 2 weeks in at UPS, finished up. Everybody was super happy for me. So I go up to Canada. I play up there for 3 years. Again, I'm not the man up there. I have a crazy story as far as being in the NFL for how long I've been playing in the NFL. But I wasn't the man up there. I wasn't a superstar. I wasn't an all-star or anything like that. Matter of fact, I was more known as you're the father of the twins that were always on the Jumbotron. So I was like, I'll take it, some recognition. But no, so I had my first NFL workout with the New Orleans Saints. I had a buddy, there you go. I had a buddy that played up in Canada with me. He came down, Delvin Bro, who also has an amazing story, broken neck and everything. So I go down, he puts a word in for me, got to check out my guy, Eric Harris. He can kind of do it all. Special teams, cover guys, he hits hard and all this stuff. So I go down there and I work out. On February 2nd, I sign on February 2nd. I fly back, and again, and I get back to my hometown. Paper saying everything. Oh, Eric Harris signed a 3-year deal, $1.2 million. I got families. Oh, you signed for $1.2 million, and people are so happy for me. They're Googling my contract and all this stuff. I'm like, people, I'm broke. My signing bonus was $2,000, and I had to pay my landlord up in Canada. And when we went back up to Canada, I had to leave my couch, I had to leave my washer and dryer because we were behind on rent. I had to sell game-worn jerseys, I had to sell game-worn gloves because I called U-Haul and they said it was going to be like $1,500 for a U-Haul to get all our stuff. I said, nope, we're getting a 6x12 trailer. Whatever fits, and whatever doesn't is getting left in Canada. So that's what we did. My coach, matter of fact, my head coach of the Hamilton Tiger Cats at the time, he came and helped us load up the U-Haul and everything. So we went trucking back to Pennsylvania, on the way there, car got declined, had to call my brother-in-law, hey, can you put some money in their account, this and that, so get back to hometown, and again, everybody just thinks I'm the richest person and all these things, and they're happy, and I'm like, again, people don't understand, like, that's why guys hold out, that's why guys sit out, they don't show up to camp, because guaranteed money, we have a window like this big to make a lot of money, right? But that window closes very fast for us, and that's why the transition of football and real life is a struggle for a lot of people, and you see a lot of guys overdosing, deep depression and stuff like that, because guys don't have, I almost saw it last year, and I have a pretty good foundation, pretty good faith, and I still was scared, but I can imagine guys that don't have a good support system at home or don't have a good faith. That transition is scary. So we get back to PA, get back to the hometown. I go to training camp with the Saints. Well, I make the team, and we played 3 games, got my first win against the Chargers, go on our bye week. So on the bye week, I fly back home to PA. I pack up the U-Haul, I pull our Pathfinder, which almost got repoed when we were in Canada, but they couldn't find us, so. So we pulled the Pathfinder. My grandfather drove the Nissan Rogue, and we drive down, like 20-hour drive, unloaded everything. I got the 2 cats in the car with the dog, and it's a mess. So we get down there, unload the whole U-Haul myself. My grandfather was kind of moral support at the time. So got just pretty much put everything in the house. The next day, I go pick up the family and her mom at the airport. We bring them in. Then we have, when you come off like a bye week, we'll have like a bonus Monday. Pretty much just like, hey, we know guys are probably enjoying themselves or whatever. We're just gonna kind of work out a little bit, flush whatever you were drinking or eating out of your systems, and we'll kind of just take a light or whatever. But New Orleans Saints are a little different. We had a full-on practice. It was hot as hell. I was doing all this moving or whatever, so I'm on scout team. And on scout team, pretty much the first team offense is out there. On scout team, you're not a starter or whatever, so they hold a card up. We're playing the Panthers, like, hey, this is what covers they run. This guy's gonna run this route. I want you to run this way, or just, hey, this cover 3, run cover 3. So we're in quarters. They run a play on me. I pick it off. Drew Brees threw it. I picked it off. I picked it off or whatever, and I'm running. Our fullback comes, and I kind of like juke him, and everybody's like, "Oh!" They're hyping it up, and I'm like slowing down, like I'm clearly like from the doors away to the end zone, but I'm like, I'm not gonna run all the way down there, so I like kind of hold my hand up like I'm about to be done and throw it back to our equipment guy and take the next play. Well, last second, I see the fullback coming back out of the corner of my eye, so I go to plant one more time, and I just felt a pop in my knee. And I fell down the way because he missed again, but he kind of swiped me. And so everybody, they're like, "E, get up, stop playing." I'm like, no, I don't know what's wrong. Like, my knee is like, I get up, so they like cut my pants. I didn't even realize they cut my pants. I was in so much pain, they cut my pants. They go in the training room, things are kind of settling. Trainer's checking my knees, like, "Hey, your knee always this loose?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, it's always this loose." So I get the MRI and everything, and I remember going in there, and he was like, ACL. I didn't hear anything after that. He was like, ACL, lateral meniscus, medial meniscus, and so the next day, again, my family was only there for a day and a half, really. So the next day, I had to drive myself to surgery. Didn't have gas in the car, so I had to stop and hobble out, put gas in the car, drive myself to surgery. A realtor at the time that we found down there, and we knew her for like a week, she picked me up from surgery. So she picked me up from surgery. I'm rehabbing. I'm getting back to trying to be who I was or who I thought I was, and having so many deep battles with myself. I was driving, if you guys have ever been over there, we lived on the North Shore, so we used to drive across the causeway all the time. And that was like my peace of mind, the water, the peace, my music, just having a lot of self-talks. I would watch a lot of highlights of myself, not in an arrogant way, but just to remind myself of who I was and what I was on the field and who I could be again, if not better version of myself. So I worked to get back with the team. I come back the next season, they release me. Everybody's calling me, "Oh my gosh, what are you gonna do?" I'm like, we'll find out. So I go to the airport because Buffalo Bills want to work me out. So I'm at the airport, my agent calls me, "Hey, did you get on the plane?" I'm like, "No, don't get on the plane." I'm like, "Why?" "I'll call you back in 5 minutes." So he calls me back and say, hey, you're going to Oakland. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, you're going to Oakland. They're going to sign you to the 53-man roster. So the Bills just want to see what I look like. The Raiders are going to put me on the actual roster. So I call my wife. She's not even home yet. Babe, I'm going out to Oakland. They're signing me to the 53. So I get out there and get out there on Sunday night. I fly back on Friday and play with the team. I play in my first game with the Raiders within a week against the Tennessee Titans. So I played my 4 years there, and then I had a Thursday night game that I had played pretty well. And the best part about that game wasn't how I played, but the fact that everybody was able to hear my story of adversity. I heard the guy earlier talking about, the greats or the heroes or people that have a lot of success have been drugged through the mud. And when I tell people my story, even my guys now, I tell Sidney Sonald, Christian McCaffrey, and Bosa, and they tell them that, like, dude, you got a hell of a story. Like guys, people think that guys just have it handed to them in the NFL, and it's far from it. It really is. A lot of like us in this room, we're all sitting here because there's a purpose, right? Some of us don't know what the hell we want to do. And some of us, we do know what we wanted to do. Part of the story I left out was I was about to join the Air Force because I was like, twins? I had no daddy. I needed benefits. I needed money. I needed to provide. So I was talking to a couple of my friends that were they were in it and during school or whatever. I'm like, hey guys, like, which way do I go? So the one guy talked to me, and so I started talking to the recruit and everything. But luckily, things worked out with football. But my point is, like, we're all going through something, and social media is social media. We put up there what we want you guys to see. I posted a picture of the water this morning, but really, I'm meditating at the moment. I'm going through something right now as far as nothing life-threatening or something, but it's a small injury that I'm trying to get through right now. And again, that song on the way here really got me through, like, millions of dollars, thousands of dollars. That money doesn't fix. It doesn't give you time, and it doesn't give you health. That's two things that money can't buy. And I always try to remind myself that. Try to remind my kids, I try to be the most present I can at the moment where I'm at. And people just look at us and think, football player, not human being. We're human beings first. We see the shit you guys talk about on Twitter. I look over at George Kittle, we're getting treatment and stuff, and he's going through social media too. Like, we see that stuff, right? And you never know when that moment is going to be, who's going to say what, and it's going to break that person. No matter how funny they are, no matter how strong they are, no matter how many buttons that Chief had popping off his shirt from his muscles, like, we all have things that we battle each and every day. And I just want to encourage you guys, like, through my story, like, I was never that guy. I had to fight my way to the top, and I'm still really not at the top. Like I said, I'm going to camp 90 of 90 and trying to make 53. That's how I provide for my family. I just turned 34. That's NFL old. Like, I keep talking my age. I'm like, I show up in a dinosaur little costume. But seriously, that's going on year 9 in the NFL, 13 years total. Average career is 2.5, 3 years. It's not very long. We have to play 3 years to get a pension, and a lot of guys don't get that pension. A lot of guys blow a lot of money, and that transition is hard for a lot of people. So I also encourage guys, a lot of us play through a lot of injuries that people don't see. People don't realize the things we have to go through. We're hurt. We got the GM and everybody, hey, we need you to play, take these pills, do whatever you need to do to play this game, pretty much. You go out there, put bad film on, well, now it's time for money, and they're saying, well, you had a bad game. You don't have the same stats you had last year. Well, I was hurt this year. So people don't see that. People don't take that in consideration when they're kind of just watching from afar. So there's a lot of things that are going through a lot of people's minds, and we all have family members or that family member that is trouble, right? And I see a lot of guys that deal with not just one family member, but the whole family taking advantage of them. So I always tell young guys, like, hey, you need you more than they need you, whether it's your family member or it's the football team. Like, you need to be the best version of you, because when you do that, you'll light the room when you walk into it. When you don't, you just constantly go through that cycle. You constantly go through that cycle. Like, I was telling one of my young guys with the Atlanta Falcons, you know, like, hey, like, are you okay? You not? He was struggling. He was a rookie. Coach was on him hard. He was struggling, missing tackles and stuff like that. Like, let's talk about it, because you miss one tackle, and you're like, I missed a tackle. Miss the second tackle, you're like, all right, I missed another tackle. I'm having a bad game. Then you miss the third tackle, and you're like, damn. Like, you start getting in your head, and then you start hoping that doesn't happen. You're like, I hope he doesn't break through, because I don't want to make this tackle, because I don't even have the confidence in myself anymore. So you lose that confidence in yourself. Next thing you know, you're not the same person. So work stops, you go home, but you're still having these reruns in your head about, did I have a bad play? Did I have a bad practice? I'm deleting my Twitter now because everybody's blowing me up. I got DMs and people are talking about me, 12-year-olds talking crazy in the DMs. Yeah, like real bad. I'm doing search. I'm like, where their parents at? I'm gonna DM them. And I'm like, man, you know what? Delete. But yeah, so I just want to encourage everybody, like, I love that they're putting this on. I think it's something that this society needs, the community needs, especially young adults. They need role models, and we need more love, more serving in this community and life. So no, I appreciate it. I'm super honored to be here and talk with you guys and share a little bit of my journey with you guys. Thank you. Thank you. You got question and answers?
All right, the first question is, who do you look up to for inspiration?
Ooh. See, this always gets me in trouble, because mama, wife. My mom was my inspiration. The things that she did, you know, when you're a parent, you learn there's a lot of sacrifice. Like, I would say that's like probably the biggest thing as a parent is sacrifice. I would work out when I first had my kids. I would work out, done for the day, got my workout in, feeling good about myself. I'm like, damn it, I gotta go change diapers, I gotta go make bottles, I gotta do all these things. So my mom sacrificed so much of her. To this day, she was just down here, and she lives in Pennsylvania still, and I'm trying to move her down here. But to this day, it's just like, she sacrificed so much, and she was just in the thick of things in the present moment, doing what she had to do to provide for us. And now she's lost. She's lost, and I'm trying to be that person for her to kind of help guide her through life or whatever, and just her purpose, right? Her purpose was taking care of kids. That's what she thought anyways. So just seeing my mom and everything that she overcame in her childhood and just what she was able to provide for us, like, it's pretty inspirational.
All right, next question. How do you keep your team motivated despite conflicts and obstacles?
That's a good one. I just try to be myself. I'm a very observant person, and it took me some time, kind of as far as being a leader. You know, now I'm the OG in the room, super weird. But just kind of reading the room and just figuring out. I've always been the type of player or leader or teammate or whatever that, you know, I'm not the rah-rah guy. I'm not going to break down the huddle, really. I'm kind of going to sit back and just kind of read, and I'm gonna go take individuals with me. And next thing you know, we're all on the same page. So instead of like, hey, let's go, we got to smack them in the mouth. No, that's not me. I'm just, hey, here we go, let's go. But I kind of sit back and I just kind of read the room, and I speak when I feel like it's the right time, you know, and it's not the rah-rah, it's more like real life. And for a long time, I struggled as far as just not being an in. You know, I played DB. DBs are prima donnas, right? So they're talking about nonsense over there, and I'm kind of just in my own corner. So I had to struggle. I'm like, dang, I want to be over there and be cool with them guys and just the laughs and stuff like that. But I realized that the nonsense that they were talking about didn't really have anything to do with like real life, right? I started to realize that when real life happened, hey, we had a miscarriage. Hey, we're going through a divorce. Hey, we're doing this or whatever. I'm addicted to porn. How do I navigate through all this? They come to me. They come to me and talk to me. So I had to accept who I was. I had to accept that's how they saw me, and it wasn't a bad thing.
All All right. In your experience, what are some common pitfalls or challenges leaders face when trying to build resilience in their teams?
I would say a lot of times, like, guys, they talk before they walk, really. My thing is always like, especially when I go to a new team, I show up to San Fran last year at week 13, and my biggest thing is I'm going to show you who I am before I'm going to tell you who I am. So I think a lot of guys, it's sometimes a lot of insecurity, honestly. Sometimes the loudest guys in the room are the smallest minded guys. So for me, I just, again, try to be humble, try to be quiet about things, and just kind of walk in action rather than talking all the time. And I think a lot of guys get in trouble when they talk too much, and then they don't put their best foot forward.
What's the single most important quality a leader can have?
That's a good one. Oof. Off the top of my head, I would say consistency. Being consistent in what you do. Showing up each and every day. Like I said, when you're a leader, there's a lot of people that are walking behind you, and it's very lonely in the front. Very lonely, So just being consistent and watching, I have kids, and I always say kids are a mirror reflection of you. Like, yelling at my son, I'm saying, like, why are you doing this? Why? And I look at my wife, I'm like, what? That's you. That's you. So it's like, they're a mirror reflection of yourself, so being consistent, even when I'm having my dark days, I'm not saying fake it, but I'm also saying people are always watching. I met my dad 3 times in my entire life, but as I got older, one thing he used to always tell me that still sticks to me this day is somebody's always watching you. You don't know who's watching you. And I'm speaking to a room right now, but really, it might be one person that really takes this story and runs with it, right? So you never know who's watching you. You never know the example that you're being set.
How do you set yourself apart from others?
In my profession, details. I pay attention to details. Coach tells us put our foot on the white line, start on the 50-yard line. I do that. You wouldn't believe how many grown men mess up drills when they're the 3rd or 4th one, and it drives me nuts. I get mad at 7-year-olds, and they're 7. But grown men do it too. So I think that's what always separated me, are the details. In life, I wasn't always the biggest or strongest or fastest, but I paid attention to film. I studied a lot of film. My IQ for football has become higher because of that. You might run a 4.3, but hey, I know when they get in 2x2 condensed sets that it's deeper throws down the field. It's stuff like that when they're under center versus when they're in the gun. There's different plays, so you just pay attention to all the details. Receiver comes out, he's wiping his gloves. Every time he does it, it's a pass. When it's a run, he kind of just sits there because he's not blocking anybody anyway. So I pay attention to details all the time. And guys like, well, how the hell do you know this? I'm like, I'm a dinosaur.
What qualities do you feel are lacking among today's leaders?
Just being authentic. Being authentic, being the real you. Stop faking it. A lot of people are faking being a leader, It's okay to be you. It's okay to open up and say you're struggling. It's okay to find that person to talk to. So I think just being authentic about it, there's guys, again, I've played with, and, when things aren't going well, when you're not making the playoffs, there's certain guys, when things are good, OTAs, I'm about to go to OTAs next week. Everybody, I swear, everybody thinks they're going to win the Super Bowl, fans included. My team's winning the Super Bowl this year. This is our year. We look good. And then real season hits, and you're like, oh, we're terrible. And yeah, right. Who? Oh, yep. They were some of the worst, to be honest. Grateful, though. But yeah. Just being authentic. Again, when things are good, they're in the huddle, and then you pay attention, and things are going bad. They kind of start going to the back, right? I'm still in the same spot I was week 1 in the same huddle, right? I don't drift out. I don't go forward. I don't ride the roller coaster. I don't get up and down when things aren't going well. I don't panic on the sideline. I try to be the calm for everybody, and I think that really helps. So just being authentic and just being yourself. You don't have to be anybody else. You just be yourself and the gifts that you were given.
All right, I got 2 more questions.
All right.
What is the best career advice you've ever received?
Best career advice. Something that, not during my career, but I would say something I grew up with was my grandfather it's here to this day, is you better get busy. You better work, you better get busy. And it stuck with me. Like, you hear a saying like, some guys show up thinking they did enough, and some guys show up thinking they're preparing because they think somebody's outworking them. I always thought somebody was going to outwork me, and it's even worse with social media, because you have a hard workout, you get on social media and your teammate, he's posting his workout, and you're like, damn, I gotta go do more, and you overdo it, you don't trust your process, and you show up to OTA, you show up to training camp, whatever, and you're like, oh my God, he's out of shape. Well, he just posted the one workout he did for the week, and you think he's working out every single day. You're like, no, he just wanted to do that for his followers. He wanted to make it seem like, but I just always had the mindset of just outworking everybody, whether it's conditioning, whether it's being a husband or a father, whatever it is. I try to always just stay on top of it. I read books through self-growth. I'm just always trying to be a better version of myself.
All right, going off of that, what advice would you give to your younger self at the start of your career?
Oh man, I feel like I'm writing my book right now. At my beginning of my career, you said? I would say just keep believing in yourself. Believe in your preparation, believe in your gifts, that what you have is enough. When I was up in Canada, they show us when you have their preseason game, their first preseason game, they'll throw up the depth chart, and they'll show up every quarter that everybody's playing. The starters are playing one quarter, the backups, and I was playing only the fourth quarter. I wasn't playing any special teams, and that's usually not a good sign. I'm getting cut. Didn't trust myself. Wasn't trusting what I was doing. I was having a good camp, but still I was always like, I had one bad play. I couldn't stop thinking about it that night. Go home, writing on my mirror with dry erase markers, drawing up everybody on the defensive side of the ball, just trying to know everybody's job and what they're doing, always trying to outwork people. But just trusting yourself, because my first game in the Canadian League, I was supposed to just play special teams. I played 3 positions that game. I'd never played cornerback all training camp. I played Sam linebacker, and I played free safety. And then from there on, I was on the active roster ever since, because I was doing the process, but I wasn't trusting the process. And that showed me that, hey, what you're doing is working. Stop comparing yourself to what other people are doing.
All right, we had one last question come in. I keep lying, guys, I'm sorry. This is the last one.
No.
What book are you reading right now?
Honestly, the 5 love languages of children. Yeah, because, we get caught up in life. Like for me, I'm always locked into what I'm doing, and, like I said, I have something going on right now, so sometimes I get irritable a little sooner than I should, get a little more impatient, or I take it out on the animals or the wife or whoever's around. It's just speaking their love language and knowing each child and what fills their love tank. And, a lot of the times I feel like I'm giving them everything. We just bought a boat, we got the house and the water, do all these things, and it's like, why the hell aren't you guys happy? And I go kick the soccer ball for 5 minutes, and they're totally different kids. Totally different kids. They just want my attention. They want a present dad. They don't want all that other stuff. That stuff doesn't mean anything to them. They want my time. They want me to tell them that it's okay. Every little girl wants to know, are they enough? And every little boy wants to know, do they have what it takes? And that's what I'm trying to get to. I'm not perfect every day, but I definitely recognize that I have no ego. Babe, I'm sorry, I've been a bear the past 2 days. This is what I have going on. It took me a long time to kind of talk out loud about my feelings, because my family was like, hey, you're sick, go take care of yourself. I'm gonna hold it down over here. So we didn't really talk about feelings. We didn't hug, we didn't lovey all the time and stuff like that. So I've learned that through my wife, and I really learned that through my kids. And just, like I said, just being present in our life and just knowing, hey, when you give Elijah a compliment, he loves it. When you buy him a gift, he loves it. When Esme, you just go play Barbies with her, it's amazing to her, you know, or you give her a compliment about, hey, you're so beautiful today. No, I'm not. Why? She just wants to keep hearing why she's beautiful. So I'm like, okay, words of affirmation. Well, your blonde hair and this and that. So the book's been amazing, and there's been some real eye-openers and things like, damn, like I'm struggling with this. So it's a pretty cool book. And I did it one before we got married too. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Seriously. Appreciate it, man.